How is everybody feeling tonight? It's Driven Mindset Podcast, episode 8. I hope you're feeling good. I hope you're doing good. We're going to have a great conversation tonight. Earlier this week, Cody Hunt put out a post, and I was reading through the comments, and it's cued this show for me that I wanted to get this conversation out because it's starting to happen. First of all, let me apologize if there's a slight delay in my internet. I don't know what's going on. I'm out here in Fallon, Nevada, and you never know. The Navy base could be jamming communications. That is completely out of my control. But what I can focus on is giving you guys a great conversation tonight and possibly opening up your mind a little bit. I know a lot of people are excited about what we're going to talk about tonight, and some people just gonna hate. So if you got through that glitchy, I want to thank everybody for joining us live tonight. I'm going to bring up somebody that has personally sparked a fire in me, and I'm pretty sure he's about ready to light up the entire industry this year because he's on a roll. He is Cody, hunting for some backflips, gonna make some things happen. Mr. Cody Hunt, how you feeling tonight, brother?
Good, man. I'm actually doing really good. Just moved into a new house today. Feeling good. It was just hustle, and then just jumped right on here on Driven, and now we're about to have a really good conversation. I'm really excited about it.
That is so how it goes lately. It's like we've packed our lives so full. I was just having a conversation tonight, and I'm like, I can't believe how much I took for granted the free time that I used to have prior to taking on some new challenges, pushing myself a little harder each week in my own personal life and in my own goals and recovering with the shoulder. I really took that for granted. I miss it a little bit, but I also like the momentum I've gained by just charging, man. Like that has really helped me a bunch.
Yeah, it's kind of unreal. I was kind of in the same boat, man. Like I was just in this slump in my life and not really knowing like what I was wanting in life. And I just kind of was like down, and I just wanted to move forward. And then I just kind of, as soon as you and I started Driven, it was kind of just like this mental reset. And here we are 8 weeks later, and things are just so packed full and just continuously moving and feeling good, man. And I'm really excited for winter, and things are really starting to roll, man. Charging up.
Hey, let's title this show that.
That's a really good idea.
I love it. Charging up. Man, we got a great guest on tonight. I want to let's just cue it off like that. So this whole episode is, I want to say, based around mindset of a pretty big innovation that's come into the snowmobile industry. While I was reading through I cued it a little bit earlier, while I was reading through the comments on your post you threw up about the new electric snowmobile, I just couldn't help but notice the echo on about half of the people commenting. Their first comment was just negative, like it's not going to work. It doesn't fit. I won't work. What if it breaks? What if
electric sleds aren't welcome?
Right. So along with that, the other 50% on the comments were basically like, this is awesome. I can't wait to see it. I want to ride it. It's going to have so many benefits. So I know we were having a conversation last night with our guest, who I want to bring on right now because I know he's just loaded with great information, not only about innovation inside the industry, but charging forward, creating new paths for himself. Mr. Jon Miller, you guys might remember him from a previous Driven episode of the Backcountry United. He's newly launched, and I want to give him a little credibility because he warned me about this. If I let him introduce himself, he might go on for the whole hour trying to build him some credibility for himself. But I can assure you, so this gentleman that's joining us tonight, congratulations, first off, with the newly formed Backcountry United Foundation, nonprofit organization to further your cause. Way to go on that. But Jon Miller is an industry insider, if you will. He's been on all sides of the ball regarding to the snowmobile industry, from the corporate world to the private sector. The guy's had his hand in many pots, and he's also had his voice in many conversations. So I'm super stoked to bring him up on the show as we talk about this mindset shift to charging it up. What's up, brother? How you doing tonight?
What's up, guys? Good to be here.
Super stoked to have you on the show, Jon.
Thanks for the short introduction. I appreciate it.
Well, I tried to brief it up. The last time I remember you introducing yourself, it was about 35 to 40 minutes on John Ferrien's show, and then also on mine. So I gotta say, it's a great honor to have you on here. I love that I can call on you on short notice to have conversations like this. And man, welcome to the podcast. We're officially a podcast now, not just a Facebook Live show, which I feel like gives me some credibility.
Yeah, good job.
We've all been at it for a number of years, and I feel like I've been following both of you since you started, and it's cool to see growth. And it probably takes me a little bit longer to progress than a lot of people, and that's why I've been at this for a couple of decades now, it feels like. And but we're all learning and growing and kind of reinventing and pivoting, and we keep pushing, and here we are. It's super cool to see the growth in everybody.
I want to dive in real quick and right now with the Backcountry United Foundation. I remember, our conversation last night really queued it up with me, but got the hardware. I like it.
Ooh. I like it. I want one.
I know. I need to make more.
I need all the Backcountry United swag. If you notice, I'm definitely representing the shirt. Podcast listeners, I'm sorry you can't see it, but check out the live post. You can see it. Our conversation last night took me back to the Driven episode, how Backcountry United was originally founded, and your 4 pillars that you wanted to basically build your entire brand, company, passion of life on. And one of those hits big tonight. So give us a little insight to what the Backcountry United Foundation is, and don't go into depth into your historical now, because we want to keep this.
I've got a group of all-star, amazing people that came together. They had been following me as Backcountry United evolved, and I got super into all this public lands. I was working with the Forest Service, National Forest Foundation, the crossover of human-powered and motorized recreation, particularly in the winter. And it kind of built and built and built. And there was a group of people that really, started to support me behind the scenes. And the more that we kept moving forward year after year, it became obvious that this needed to evolve into a nonprofit foundation. So what's cool is now we've taken this social side of what Backcountry United has been expressing for years through volunteerism and goodwill, just done a lot of work out there to support the snowmobile community, the industry, really think about how our cultures collide, and hopefully in time learn to coexist and work together, so that we can have access to public lands for generations to come. And that's taken me down a lot of different roads. And the 4 pillars, we've actually kind of refined that language a little bit. I'm actually going to test the new prototype out tonight. So it used to be respect and stewardship and education and innovation, and we've kind of moved it around. So we have an acronym that spells out RAISE, RAIS: respect, awareness, innovation, and stewardship. So
I like it. Raise up,
and, we can really push that. There's a lot of conversations happening in the outdoor recreation space both from a industry level, but also and it's propagating. You're going to see this language, responsible recreation. It's a movement that really came from the REI realm, and so it's very human powered. And we've been actually talking to those guys and figuring out, we're the only motorized voice at the table in this coalition of like 1,000 brands. Like, it's pretty ridiculous how much fire they've caught, and now it's, states are taking it on to communicate a very consistent almost code of ethics for how we recreate responsibly. And so our team is working on, we'll probably launch it in the next week here, a motorized specific kind of, we're bolting the turbo onto it. We're gonna raise the bar and really think about it from authentically, like our snowmobile culture. Like, how do we recreate responsibly, without taking away the fun that we have out there? I mean, I don't want to tell guys like Cody that they can't, try a double backflip and, land in a tree well or whatever. Like we still want to ride snowmobiles. We still want to do what we do and push our limits. But, how do we coexist with other users? How do we think about, watershed and wildlife migration and, the plethora of other factors that come into that, we as sledders, we just don't have those things on our mindset, So if we can hear some of that feedback and tweak a few things so there's no conflict in the parking lot and potentially less conflict in the social media realm, we're going to be seeing a lot more motorized recreation. Skiers and snowboarders are coming. Their season passes don't work this year across America.
Yep.
Snowmobiles are flying off the shelf. Who knew that you would have to pay over $3,000 for a trailing arm sled in 2020? But the demand of snowmobiling is growing, and on one side there's a lot of potential things to be frustrated about, but then on the other side I'm seeing a lot of hope, optimism, where we start seeing people who otherwise wouldn't have bought snowmobiles, now they want access.
Yep.
So now they're going to want to talk about, like, oh, wait, well, why is that area closed? Well, back in so-and-so, a certain group got together and sued the forest and shut that area down. And, oh, really? I'd love to ski that. Like, yeah, we would have too. So I see a lot of unexpected twists in the plot with how
crazy things are coming.
Yeah. So, and I think that, government agencies, they want to, the Forest Service, like, they want to connect authentically with people at trailheads. Just the more we see people going out there, like, our trailheads are going to be frustrating this year. So how do we get ahead of that in our mindset so that we are being respectful? We're promoting awareness, we're innovating in how we solve problems, and we're thinking about, leaving the land, better than what we found it. And that can come to life in all sorts of ways, like picking up trash. I mean, what are you guys doing out there with Sierra Snowmobile Foundation and Tahoe Snowmobile Club? And like
Saturday morning. Oh, we got Echo City here today. I think it might be on Jon.
No, it's not me.
Awesome. I'll turn down my mic.
Yeah.
Mild technical difficulties here. So Saturday, Lake Tahoe Snowmobilers, our local club that, through a lot of the stuff you just spoke about, was born a couple years ago. And Saturday morning, we're going up to a high integrated user, leading to user conflict area where there's, one side of the road is all human powered, one little area, and then the other area is the snowmobile area. But we're going up. We're meeting with the Forest Service, we're meeting with local riders, and we're meeting with local wilderness groups to kind of go over territories and come up with a management strategy, and then also picking up trash. And also we're going to have our beacon park out there and education for everybody. So I gotta say that these conversations are kind of happening just from mindset that you've plugged into our area personally, and experiences that we've had out here. And that's why this conversation we're having tonight about the electric snowmobile is, I see a huge part of what's about to happen. Like you said, there's a big shift from the ski resort crowd that's gonna be in these parking lots, in these trailheads that haven't been there the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years because they've been at the ski resorts. They don't know the rules. So we're gonna run into all sorts of unforeseen circumstances. And like a quote that I've heard many times growing up, and is that closed mind opens no doors. And it's gonna be on a both sides of the road type of thing. Is it's not only on the sledder front, which revisiting some of the comments about the electric snowmobile isn't the future. I'm not saying it's here to take over two strokes and combustion engines, by no means, but it is what I see as a good paved path to opening some of those closed minds, which opens more doors and ultimately could open more terrain. Like, I know, Cody, you live up there near a very scenic, snow-covered, pretty mass of land that the electric snowmobile in itself might be the key to that door.
Yeah. So the way I look at it is, if this goes right and these sleds do work the way that we want them to, I don't see any reason why Yellowstone couldn't open back up. And that is country that is so beautiful, and so many opportunities in that area for all aspects of riding. And it would be so rad. Skinner Bell just put up, it would be awesome for Yellowstone Park. I mean, it's perfect. And
the culture shift would be crazy even too, when you start to think about like actual users being out there, and it not just being this weird tourist thing, like it would allow the local culture to have more connectivity with that land, and kind of take on that steward mentor kind of role within the community.
Yeah, it would be, I mean, if it were to happen, it would be the most incredible thing that happened in the snowmobile industry since they shut it down.
So yeah, things we know: a two-stroke combustible engine is not welcome in Yellowstone. Things we don't know yet: where does an electric sled live in Yellowstone?
Right.
And that's where I see the mindset shift needs to change. Is if the masses behind snowmobiling, and we'll stick with that right now, if the masses behind snowmobiling are supporting the electric sled and not publicly bashing it and publicly knocking it down before it even gets a chance to get its legs underneath it, the people that are seeing the other side of that conversation is like, hey, this user group that we've once excluded for whatever reason it may be, or they may feel, they're making progress, they're doing things, they're giving up sacrifices, there's a little push and pull there on their end. Let's open the door. Let's have the conversation with them that maybe never would have, could have, or has happened yet. I like it.
So yesterday, Scott, when I put up that post, kind of dropping that I was going to be riding an electric sled this year made by Taiga, the comments that were coming up on that blew my mind, dude. Like, two-stroke for life, the most power. That was one that blew my mind for sure. Like, has anyone ever ridden an electric bike, a pedal bike? Have you driven an electric car? I mean, it's insane how much these things, like how much power they have. I
mean, I was bolting 100 turbos onto anything.
Yeah, it's insane. Like the new Hummer just came out. It's fully electric. It's 1,000 horsepower. It can crab walk because you don't have to worry about, fixed drive lines and everything. Literally all they're doing is turning the tire and the motor anymore with a hydraulic ram. It's insane, man. Like 1,000 horsepower in a Hummer. That's rad. I mean, people, the Priuses and all of that stuff. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's kind of weird, but, like the opportunity behind the electric motor is just insane. I've been so addicted to it for so many years, and I didn't know how to put it together. I knew that a battery and a motor was involved, but the rest of it, I was lost. So
let's do a quick poll. We got 24, 28 people bouncing in and out live on this. Drop it in the comments right now for it or don't like it. Like let's get the conversation started going, because Cody, you have a far wider array of followers on your page that a lot of those comments were coming from. I feel like in the Driven Network here that we've kind of created, we have a bunch of open-minded people that would all support the innovation, because it moves the industry forward a little bit. It very well could raise the fun factor 100 times.
yeah,
Like Jon says, it's like bolting 100 turbos on. I know you last night when we were talking about it, you were bringing up things that I wasn't even aware of, as far as fuel sloshing around, changing your balance point. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I've been struggling on the side hill. It's because the fuel's been sloshing. It's little things like that I think the majority of the public maybe don't see quite yet, because they're focused on the one little thing that could go wrong with it, like a dead battery. I mean, it's the heart of it, but there's a gazillion moving parts of a combustion engine. So drop it in the comments. Let us know, if you're on the replay, still do it too. We'd like to take a feel just right for it or against it, or, we'll see it in 10 years if it improves.
Yeah. And Scott, if you want to, while we're just sitting here live, bring them up, and, we can read through the comments and come up with some ideas and really talk about this, because this is a conversation that can go on for hours and hours. Believe me, since I started telling people that I was gonna be riding an electric sled, all I've talked about was the electric sled. So, Jon, one thing you said last night that people aren't even thinking about is rotating mass, clutches, everything like that, throwing you off.
Right. Yeah, like we don't realize how much, when you start to think about the simplicity of, like the electric motor is basically your driveline, and it's just like a computer that sort of puts the power or whatever where you want it. Like, I remember learning about rotating mass when I was working for one of the manufacturers years ago, and they were touting that as like an idea that made the snowmobile like more maneuverable. And that was a mind-blowing concept back then,
Mm-hmm.
And now you take that idea, and I mean, you think about the weight. If you just look at the chassis without any plastics on it or whatever, like things aren't like really symmetrical. Like you got things hanging off over here, and power transferring all over the place. And I think about like even like I'm a classic Chevy guy at heart. Like you think about the power transferring from a motor through a transmission into a driveline and then out to the wheels. And there's so much, it's almost like a game of telephone, like with power, if you think about it, so it's an interesting concept to think that everything is just like kind of self-contained and symmetrical,
Right. And with these electric motors being so small, there is no reason why these sleds need to be as wide as they are anymore. What else does it change with the power to weight ratio? Your power to weight ratio just went up because you're losing weight in all reality. It's the opportunity for this.
I mean, I think weight is kind of one of the bigger problems, right? Like I test drove a Tesla, and then also test drove a street bike that was converted from a Alta motorcycle platform.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two like electric powered experiences I've had. And I mean, both of them were the most ridiculous. I mean, I felt like I was on a spaceship, like in the Tesla. And then the motorcycle was set to like 2 out of I think there was 7 or 8 levels of power. And I barely touched the throttle, and I've never ridden a wheelie on a street motorcycle before. And apparently I was learning how to do that the second I touched the throttle for the first time. And, it was just mind boggling how instant the torque is. And, you don't have gears shifting. So it's just like, or, you think about a snowmobile, like the clutch is engaging. It's just always there, like right there all the time,
Right.
It's instantaneous horsepower. Like you said, like it's
all
code.
torque.
It's just code right to the track.
Yeah.
That's
and
nuts.
I can't wait to jump it, to be honest with you, because it's like a dirt bike, and you tap the brake and the whole front end goes down. Like you do that on a sled too, but you tap that brake, it has to go through the brake, into the jack shaft, back to a chain, down. Like it's just gonna I'm so excited.
Yeah, well, you just like let off the throttle and that'll kind of be the brake kind of thing. Like, will there even be a brake? There is a brake on those things, right?
Yeah, there's a brake on them. And that's another thing that I haven't even thought of. That's
just that the throttle can be the throttle and the brake kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. It very well could be. But there is a brake on it, so it's gonna be crazy for backflips.
You might have to let off the throttle a little bit,
right?
Or start like 15 feet back, like Travis Pastrana. Just roll up.
Or could you just do a backflip like standing in place?
Right, because it's gonna want to wheelie over backwards.
And you don't need ice scratchers either, by the way. So like
you should still probably run ice scratchers for the high facts.
For the high facts, true. All right, I'll give you that.
And
there you go.
So is there cooling with it? Like,
I don't know. I don't have it yet. So, and those conversations haven't been had. So I'm really, I can't wait to get my hands on it and just look it over and actually like be able to describe to people what I'm looking at. It's going to be cool for sure.
So the biggest complaints I see from people are, the lack of sound, which is solvable. I mean, if
I'm kind of excited about that.
Me too.
There's more people probably more interested in hearing the skis carve and the track slinging versus the ring-a-ting tang 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 yacht. But the sound, the battery issue and the weight is a concern, which I know through the industry I'm in and green energy is innovations completely drastically changed things. The productivity of solar panel is like 8 times or 80 times better than it was 10 years ago. So the battery and the weight thing's changing. Durability and lastability of the battery, and then if it's dead, how are you gonna recharge it in the backcountry? Well, those things are, yes, they're obvious issues and reasons for people not to support them, but they're also reasons to drive innovation. It gives opportunity for new companies, I believe, to be formed inside the snowmobile industries that don't exist right now. It takes somebody like Zebros that maybe can make some sort of generation off the shock somehow by things moving back and forth to give you a little reserve charge. I don't know, but battery packs, it improves those.
Maybe you could have like a solar panel backpack or something.
A solar panel backpack. And who's to say they don't have some sort of charging station at different warming huts? As we didn't have electric stations at all these plants. And I know a lot of different types of energy make the electricity. I'm not narrow-minded like that. I get it. There's probably a coal or a natural gas out there making the electricity. I'm not here to argue with that concept. I do that plenty in my full time, but it drives innovation, man. It drives solutions to be brought to the table. There's somebody sitting here that probably has an idea of a rescue sled that they can create to go, service these things in the backcountry. So like you're not carrying around 100 gallons of fuel to go fuel your buddies up in the backcountry, but you can tow a sled with a battery bank on it and charge people to hook up. There's so much opportunity when new innovations come around that we just have to find the solutions for.
Yeah, it's a cord instead. You carry a cord instead of a hose with a little ball bearing at the end of it.
Right. You're not siphoning your back on electricity from your buddy's sled. Like there's so, and it just, the comments drive me crazy. I don't typically let things like that get to me, but it's just like, come on, people, and I'm going to kind of fall back on Jon on this one, is the amount of doors it opens up to new companies that, they might not be involved in the industry because of their, combustion emission, sound quality levels. It gives the opportunity for major companies to step into the sport and start backfeeding, those channels. Like, what can you on those?
A big thing that sort of starts to come into my mind is, I've been watching, obviously, Winter Wildlands is, we all know the work that they've done over the years and the implication it's had on riding areas and such. But then, a few years ago, the Protect Our Winters group, which has tons of traction in the outdoor industry, and really they've got a huge following that, is probably larger than the snowmobile industry itself. But a lot of their like celebrity athletes who promote, Protect Our Winters, their agenda, a lot of those guys and gals are snowmobilers. Like some of them are actually sponsored by the snowmobile manufacturers. So, I think there is a connectivity there that when we were talking in the fossil fuel space, the barriers are almost insurmountable. So, now if you start giving them electric technology, it solves problems, and it could potentially open those doors. I love the idea of potentially opening land. I had never considered reversing wilderness to ever be a possibility, but, you start thinking about technology like this and perhaps, there's a possibility there. I know that the electric mountain bike movement has definitely made its rounds and has opened new doors as far as like trail systems. And, I've seen quite a few communications from the Forest Service looking for comment on electric mountain bikes. So maybe that same idea could translate to even national parks, or, we might see new realms opening up that we hadn't even thought of because now the fossil fuel is out of the picture. Selfishly for me, I'm also a snowboarder. I love backcountry snowboarding as much as I love backcountry snowmobiling, and I love the quiet experience on the snowboard. And I could only imagine having a throttle on my snowboard. Like, that'd be amazing. And then the other thing I would say is, I'm quite a bit older than you guys, and I've been exposed to a lot of noise over the years, and my hearing is going bad. I'm 45 years old, and I literally, out of both ears, hear constant ringing. And it started up on Togedy in 2013. I've heard super loud ringing in my ears 24/7 ever since, and it's totally snowmobile related. So if I could go back, I probably would have put earplugs in when I was snowmobiling or riding motorcycles, or all the things that I have done in the past that had that loud experience to it. And I love exhaust. Like, I used to have 3-inch dual exhaust on my Chevy Nova, and I had a badass Victory motorcycle that had a stage 3 kit on it, and it was just angry, and I loved that sound, and but now that I'm like, I still want the experience without having to destroy my eardrums. So I see a lot of benefits just on the quiet side of things.
The quiet side of things is just going to be quiet and nice, and we're going to be able to sneak up on animals and like things we normally don't see in the backcountry. We're going to be able to experience now. I'm stuck on this thing I saw Skinner post a little while ago. Have the track regenerate power. That's absolutely right. It's a huge opportunity to use regen braking especially with downhill stuff, because normally here in Alpine you climb to the top of one peak and then come down all the way down, and the whole time you're off the throttle, that motor could be regenerating power and putting it right back into your battery. And if it's done right, it could literally make it to where you could ride all day without really worrying about charging. The other thing that I saw, Scott and Jon, is the amount of time you get and how many miles you get. It's something like 86 miles to a charge. I would challenge a lot of riders to come to this area and ride 86 miles of hard backcountry riding like we do. I challenge that. Even in the first battery life that they're coming out with, I think they've got it hands down, no problem.
And with that, you gotta think. So, with the concept that this whole show has started off is we all suck when we get going. Like, I'm not saying they will suck, but there is so much room for improvement and
Growth.
putting the machine under guys like yourself that truly know how to work through a product conception to, a marketplace ready product and provide feedback and make the improvements for the true mountain rider that's not out there just touring around. Because, look at the last 20 years, how long it took for a snowmobile to get to where it is today. And now we have all that gained knowledge. We have all that wealth of, we can speed up the process collectively as a snowmobile community to get these to where they need to be quicker. So there's so many opportunities just for Cody to break stuff and make it better. Make it better for the rest of us as we come into it. I just see it being a huge win that ideally, as people start to wrap their head around it. I know one gentleman on here, I can't catch the name, Ralph Gallagher's people hate change. That's a fact. Nobody really likes to change. I love it. It's really helped me changing some of my mindset and changing some of my principles I operate on a daily basis. Cause I get to have conversations like this with gentlemen like this, that I'm extremely thankful for, because I open my mind to change. I just hope that, eventually we can kind of have that same conversation with the public where, maybe it ain't for you. We're not saying you got to go out and buy one, but dang sure, let's support this initiative and see if we can't go shred the backside of, old Yosemite and throw some sick stuff in Yellowstone Park and open up Glacier and the wilderness. Maybe we're not out riding in wilderness, but maybe we can gain a little ground there, because we gave I'm just kind of rambling here because I'm excited about it. Honestly, it solves a lot of problems for me locally here in Lake Tahoe area, where we ride. Is noise is, at the end of the day, their only real valid complaint is we make noise. The rest of the stuff is kind of non-science based, if you will, in my opinion.
I've even heard comments in the past of like, you're leaving carbon in the snow. It's like, Man, you really got to pull the microscope out to find an excuse to hate snowmobiles there.
Yeah.
You know, where now they're the only I mean, I think ultimately we're going to have to move beyond electric into hovercrafts. You know, that's when they really won't have anything to complain about if we don't leave tracks or trenches and it's totally silent. But, you know, and then obviously we don't want people riding wheelies across the Grand Prismatic Spring or whatever.
Right.
So, you know, that'll crack open into other conversations about, like, you know, just like technology is rapidly iterating, so will language and ethics and, you know, probably regulations. But we may end up, you know, trading one regulation for another kind of thing. So you might have closed us down over here, but now we've got all of this open that never was. So it will be interesting to see how the whole kind of ecosphere of it, you know, culture, industry, technology kind of move forward together.
Yeah.
I want to kind of pivot here now. I think, you know, would we all agree? Like, I know on this panel we all agree, because that's the kind of people I surround myself with, is open-minded people that want to drive the sport forward and not backward. So we can all agree that it's a positive move forward. I want to, Jon, you mentioned something to me last night when we were kind of setting this show up about that, you know, backcountry users typically were the exclusion based, you know, community. We ventured out of the resorts, we ventured away from, you know, society's boundaries to go experience backcountry, experience our church, if you will. And the resorts were the inclusive place, like that's where you go to be. That shift this year, this is good. This is the year, and you kind of hit on some things that really opened my perspective. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but I want the rest of the people on the show that listen to this podcast, which I appreciate everybody checking this out. I really want to kind of drive home the shift that's about to happen this year with that inclusive crowd. Right. Now moves into the exclusive area, you know, the exclusive crowd.
Yeah, well, I don't like inclusive and exclusive. I think those draw the wrong correlation. But I think the way that I've been explaining it to people recently is, you know, we used to go into the negative space. So the positive space being, you know, movie theaters, shopping malls, ski areas, you know, cruise lines, you know, all these experiences that we've been hooked on as consumers, particularly in America. You know, we've been funneled through the Disneyland gates. You know, you pay at the gate, it's national, or like the national park experience. You pay at the gate, you sit in a traffic jam, you stand in line, you wait your turn, you know. And for me personally, I got super frustrated as a snowboarder. I grew up in Colorado, and you know, you could ride powder like a few days after a storm at a ski area, and in time you couldn't do that. So we started going more into the trees, and then in time the trees started getting tracked out, and then so we started going outside of the boundaries, like, you know, going outside the ropes of the ski area, and then that got tracked out. And ultimately a lot of folks like myself, just we got tired of those manufactured experiences and decided to go and invest, instead of renting an experience, you know, buying a season pass for $1,000 and it expires in April. You know, I could almost spend the same amount on a monthly payment for a snow machine. And then when the ski areas close, I still have full access to the backcountry for 2 more months. And it's the best skiing of the year. And so, you know, I think for me, that's how I got into snowmobiling. And when I got into that negative space, that's where, you know, our community is so tight knit, because, you know, for me, I've gotten to travel all over North America, and I've been able to ride with all these amazing people in all these amazing places. And I realized that the backcountry is just, a vast but tiny community, vast geographically, but very interconnected and in our relationships with one another. And like,
So
we've been sort of forging our own way as a culture and a community for, for me, like the last 30 years. And now all of a sudden, all of that positive space, all of those manufactured experiences have been shut down, and people want to go do stuff, and they see us, a lot of these people have been watching us in our social media endeavors. And I mean, I would imagine that you guys are experiencing what I'm experiencing, where people are like, dude, I want to buy a snowmobile, or hey, where can I get a trailer? I had a guy call me right before we got on the call. He's like, I just bought 2 snowmobiles, but I don't know how I'm going to haul them around. And, or like, people need avalanche education. People need mentors. People don't know where to go. People are on, I'm on some backcountry ski and snowboard communities for like the Denver metro area. And there's all these people that are like, every time you post a picture, they're like, well, where's that? And then there's this big like contention about like, well, you need to put in the time to know how to get to this place. Well, why even have a page? Why would you even post it? Like, you guys have big egos, and people are like bickering at one another because all of a sudden there's this new wave of people that feel entitled to something that our culture has worked very hard over many years to like understand and navigate. And, so we're kind of, I believe that people like us who have been in the backcountry for many years are going to have to start stepping into the role of like ambassador, mentor, educator. We're going to have to be the role models out there that keep our cool and act professionally and speak highly of one another, and look out for folks that they may have yelled at you at the parking lot, but if you notice that somebody hurt themselves or something, you're going to show up on your sled and make sure that they're okay. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities for our snowmobile culture to start stepping up as like the kind of the stewards, not just of the land, but of how other people getting into this, like, operate when they're out in the land. So,
there's so much that people don't see, John. You're completely right, dude. In our industry, in our community. Sorry, I didn't mean to step in right there like that.
No, I mean, we've been out there by ourselves for years,
Yeah.
And so, and we earned it, and it's awesome, and it's going to be frustrating for us, but, at the same time, this is our chance to like change the perception. Before we were such a minority of the snowmobile community, so it was easy, to say, oh, those guys are a bunch of beer drinking rednecks that just want to, shred the terrain, and, and now it's like, we have an opportunity to be like, no, actually, those snowmobilers are freaking awesome people. They're family oriented. They work hard. They care about one another. They donate their time. They donate their dollars. They show people around. Like they are, doing our avalanche reports. They're rescuing us. They're helping us out. Like, I mean, I could go on, but once we start changing perceptions that way, and everybody realizes that they can't do it without the snowmobile community
Anymore,
then suddenly the tides could change. So, my phone's been ringing off the hook for the last 6 months. Like, it's unbelievable the conversations I get pulled into, everywhere from the grassroots, like more, between individuals, all the way up to, I'm having conversations with like the governor's office and, different avalanche centers like across the country. And, I'm having collaborative conversations with organizations that in the past I would have been closed-minded to. But I love your quote there, Scott, like a closed mind doesn't open doors. That's so right on for what I'm experiencing. And, the deeper that I get pulled into it, the more I realize, like, you know, I saw this vision 10 years ago, and it started with, you know, how do we get like the anti-snowmobilers and the snowmobilers to get along? And I started to discover this thing where human powered and motorized, there was this like political cultural rub. And I just wanted snowboarders and snowmobilers to go have fun together. And that led into, you know, having this vision of like, okay, so there's these conflicts, like how do we solve those conflicts? You know, well, we got to start by respecting each other. You know, we've got to think about the land a little bit different. Like, oh man, I don't know about you, but I've lost a lot of friends to avalanches. We should probably focus on avalanche education and awareness.
We're learning as we go. Like, I will give it that. We are learning.
So, you know, I think it's crazy. I didn't expect 2020 to take the twists and turns that it has, but all of these pillars that I've been, you know, in my personal adventure with all of this, suddenly are more relevant than they've ever been. And where people might not have listened to me before, suddenly they're calling me. And that's pretty awesome affirmation that, you know, all of this crazy work that I've been doing over the years suddenly has real application. So
it's pretty badass, I gotta say. And thank you for taking that leap of faith 10 years ago that you did to be in this position, to have those conversations. I know you're not the only one. There's a lot of people around you that have helped and that work and continue to help. And you got an army behind you, with you and alongside you. Like, I'm completely aware of that, but I mean, it's the same thing. It's like Cody taking the leap of faith this year to be that guy that is kind of going to say, hey, this, you know, these sleds, these machines, this technology has a place for us, and it opens so much, like, and, you know, hopefully it gets sped up. It doesn't take him 10 years to be heard like a lot of the other people. Maybe, you know, I gotta say, Cody, you're gonna have a hell of a hard time leaving the parking lot every day. I guarantee that.
Totally.
So the cool thing about the new house is the trail is right behind the house, so I don't even have to hit the parking lot anymore. I mean, the truck's going to have to stay here for a while. I mean, the truck in itself is enough, but then you add an electric sled to it, which is like...
I forgot about the truck. The two of them are going to be quite the bedfellow.
Yeah. It's like Dalton said the other day, Cody, you don't even have to ride snowmobiles anymore. And I was like, yeah, but that's not why I'm doing this. Like, I just like doing cool stuff. I mean... I grew up with a bunch of guys when I was young, man, that we all ran demo derby, Skinner Belt, you know, being one of them, and the whole redneck racing crew up in Jackson. Like, we just like doing cool things. We like living our lives, and yeah, it draws a crowd every once in a while, but whatever, like, just have fun with life and go for it. You know,
I like the Cody Hunt factor. He's literally on like extreme both sides of the spectrum with the most giant, ridiculous diesel truck that a snowmobiler needs, hands down, and then electric sleds on the back of it. Like, it couldn't have came together better this season. I love it.
I've been pushing hard, you know. Like I said earlier, I was in a rut in life and wanted to change it. So
hey, no, there's no shame in that, brother. We all hit those low points. The trick is creating this network around you that's there to lift you up. And I love it, man. This is such like a pinnacle for me, this conversation right now. It's just fun. So, hey guys in the audience, I know we're still hanging 2022 live viewers. If you got questions for Cody, Jon, or myself, drop them in the comments. We got a little more time here. We're rounding the hour. Podcast crew, man, I appreciate you guys. And do me a favor, you know, if you're listening to this on Spotify or any of the podcast stations, and soon to be Apple, tell a friend about it. You know, subscribe to it, share it out, like my stuff, like do all the things. Because I love having conversations like this and you know, shifting mindsets, lifting people up, and doing the greater good of the work. And thanks to people like Jon Miller and Cody Hunt and myself and all the other guests we've had on so far, it makes it possible. And there's a couple guys on here that I would love to get on here. I know one guy just switched over to an electric bike. He's a diehard snowmobiler and a pioneer in the sport himself. But you look at what electric, Fatty's in there.
Yeah,
he's commenting. But you take that same industry. I was looking up some statistics today on the mountain bike industry, and I remember 3 years ago when they were savagely being tore down for the electric bikes, and now you rarely see a regular powered bike on the mountain trails. I wish you could go back and all the people that negatively commented, and there's always going to be, in any sport, in any discipline, there's going to be the far leaning guys that are the diehards, the OGs, that still ride trailing arm sleds because they love the game, and still ride the pedal bike because they love the flame and the legs. But, that electric bike opened up the door for so many people to experience the backcountry and the trails and get farther out and experience new things and, get kids to the top of the mountain that never could have made it before and share those experiences. Like, these are all positive things that drive culture and build, relationships in our world, which I think that's what we need now more than ever, is bonding and relationships, less division and more, more inclusion with everybody. I don't want to use the word inclusion. I like the negative space, positive space you put, but so much of this is just, that's like I said, this whole thing was a conversation that needs to be had so people can hear different angles of it versus two-stroke for life, man. Two-stroke cold smoke. Bring it
And
up.
they'll send out a scented two-stroke candle for you, so you can put it in your closet and make your gear smell good. And you'll still have that two-stroke life, but you're just going to be able to do a lot cooler stuff.
I love Tyga even more after reading those comments on your post. Like, I was laughing, LMAOF, or however
One guy,
it is easier to type. Like, we'll send you a candle, Cody. Like, what the heck? I saw these guys, they're out riding a jet ski today in wetsuits, and it's full snowing up in Quebec, and they're on the electric jet ski jamming around. Like, they seem like a rowdy bunch, man.
They seem really cool, and I can't wait for them to come out to Wyoming, and we'll actually get to ride these things and, start pushing hard. So, but if you listen to that jet ski and like the way it wraps up, it's not like that typical jet ski where it's like, it's just like, it's right there and you are moving. I mean, an electric stand-up jet ski, could you imagine that?
Oh, dude, a two-stroke stand-up jet ski is impossible to ride. Like, I don't want to even play with that stuff. You'll do like 3 backflips.
Yeah, straight up. You just have instant torque, instant power. It doesn't have to be transferred down the line of 6 different clutches or whatever they're using. It's like Jon said earlier. You start with the transmission, then it goes through a bunch of gears, and then it goes into a T-case, and then it transfers more gears. Then it goes into a drive line. Then it goes into more rear gears. So it's just like, you don't have any of that anymore. It's just direct drive, and the battery life is gonna be there. It may not be there 100% right now, and you may only get 86 miles out of the sled, but I guarantee you in the next year, 2 years, it's gonna be on fire.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, because of fuel and coolant and even grease, you think about all the fluids that you add to a machine. Like, that could be some of the weight that might have to go into a battery or something, or
right.
But yeah, I mean, they've got to start somewhere and get the feedback loop going, and that's where innovation starts. So,
and they're definitely on fire with starting somewhere. That's for sure.
You think about the other opportunities. I know it all consumes battery life, but if you're finding ways to regen and, maybe create it, but you have all the de-icing features that you have within battery powered and tiny little wires that you can put in running boards and tiny wires you can put.
Why would you have to though?
You're
If you
not
think
generating
about it,
any heat. You're not
you're
generating
not
heat.
generating any heat. So the only reason why our snowmobiles load up with snow is because we're generating heat, which is creating water. Then the water's freezing and drawing the snow to the snowmobile. You won't have that anymore. You're going to have a cold machine all day long. And I mean, yeah, you'll have your hand warmers that run off electricity anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to figure out what are all those little nuances of physics that we just won't even understand until, you experience it.
Yeah. Fatty and I had a really good conversation in Salt Lake about this. We sat out in front of the Zebros booth and talked for a good 30 minutes, and he was just rambling stuff off too. And I was like, ideas I wasn't even thinking of. And I was like, wow, this is so insane. It fired up the stoke.
So David Knapp just commented, as an electrician, solar panel charging stations in the backcountry.
You think about those literally would service e-bikes back there too, and one wheels that are, this is a technology. You're never going to put a gas station 50 miles deep into the backcountry. Like, it doesn't work that way. But you can put an electric solar panel charging station to charge your e-bike, charge your sled, and charge your thing, which again, creates opportunities for people that work in the backcountry and know the elements that can get up there and do it. This is exactly what I wanted to get out, because a lot of the people commenting, I think, aren't thinking around these lines of.
And then not only a charging station, but while you're charging, that could also be a warming hut in the backcountry that takes zero external energy except for this sun that we have.
There's lots of opportunities, man. It's a place to check in, man. A rescue station. It's got, it might have some sort of comms. We're talking Jetson stuff here now. Maybe you just zoom home to jump on that Skype call. John has 19 businesses to run, and then he zooms back.
I only have 6.
Can we talk Taiga into doing a sound effects? Not you, because it's totally downloadable. You can put any sound effects on it you want. Maybe you want a 2-stroke, but you could also do that Jetson car sound.
Bubbles.
I
want a big block Chevy.
Oh yes, with a heavy cam in it.
By the way, did you guys see that they came out with a small block Chevy replacement motor as an electric motor?
I have seen that. Yeah. Did you see the Blazer? The 77 Chevy Blazer?
Did you see the Bronco? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, no, they're building a total, you can pull an SBC out of an old Chevy.
Yeah.
Your Chevelle, your Corvette, your Nova, whatever, and it just bolts right into the motor mounts. It bolts up to a transmission though. So, and maybe that's kind of cool. Maybe people still want to experience a 4-speed Muncie, but you know, it's got 1,000 horsepower of immediate torque attached to it.
Right.
And a 4-speed Muncie could hold it too. That's for sure.
But that keeps the classic car world alive. With emissions and stuff, shutting things down like that, you might not be able to drive those classic cars. Society's moving one way with or without knuckleheads or gearheads.
We're all knuckleheads. It's cool.
We're all knuckleheads. We're such a small part of it, but it opens up doors, man. And like we talked about, Cody, on the Sled Addicts podcast, shout out to Rylan there. I like what he's got going on over there. Is when technology wants something, it just comes and takes it. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't really get the public census. It just shows up and it's mine. Technology takes it.
Yep.
Well, they also say good design disappears. So, that's an interesting thought when you think of the experience. And I mean, it'd be crazy to imagine snowmobiling takes us to a place where the snowmobile all but disappears in the experience,
That's deep, brother.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah.
I mean, you grew up snowboarding, right, Cody?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the idea of a snowboard with a throttle, like, I don't know. It's crazy how far this could go.
Well, that's kind of the way I'm looking at this whole electric sled thing is I miss snowboarding. I really do. The one thing I don't miss about snowboarding is the chairlift. So that's why I kind of left the snowboard industry, was just to go snowmobiling to where I could enjoy the backcountry and see everything I wanted to. But the one thing I really, over the last like 5 years, have really disliked is I'm not saying like, because people are probably going to bash me. Oh, Cody, like, how do you not like the sound of two-stroke? I still love the sound of two-stroke, but I just picture myself in the backcountry shredding through the snow, and I can hear the ski cutting through the snow, and I can feel the weightness transferring over, and it's just this new way of looking at it, more grounded to the sled, to the snow kind of experience. And I'm it's just something for me that I'm really excited about.
Me too.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to put an order in on one of these things.
because that was like the big thing. I used to, I grew up at Snow King in Jackson. We had some of the best corduroy out there. And I remember, pulling carves all the way down Snow King. just through the cord. And the Snow King used to freeze up so hard because they injected it. So you could like literally just hear that edge slicing through the snow. And, I do miss that. And I hope I find the same passion that I had for that carve on an electric snowmobile. It would be so sick. So rad.
Heck yeah.
And I'm really sick of giving people ski poles. 1, 2, 3, hearing loss.
Right.
Fatty dropped a comment here that's just crushing my vision of downloadable sounds. He says, speakers are heavy, no extra weight. Like, I feel you, brother. I feel you. But, I might want a speaker. Maybe it's Bluetooth into my ears and I can just jam to it there and it's just me alone.
Yeah.
I liked his comment about, the what pulls 4 amps. Hand warmers pull 4 amps. Turn it off and get more, range out of it.
It's like the lockout, the suspension lockout on the QS3s there, or whatever Fox put out. It's that little extra nitrous. It's that little bit of help that you get. Right. Lock it out. I mean, electric shocks. There's something that people embraced rapidly, was electrically controllable shocks, and all across all industries. I rode a side-by-side and this summer that had that same suspension setup that they put out last year or the year before, I believe. And instantaneous change in the performance of the machine with a click of a button because of electricity. So, I mean, it's a win, man. No matter which way you look at it, the people that are hating on it, they're probably going to hate on about anything. And true people, true shepherds of the sport and the industry are going to do things like Cody is take on the challenge of helping the company, get to a spot where it is a market ready, which I think it already is. I'm not super up to date on it, but he's going to help bring it into 2021, like, period. And then in 2023, when maybe Polaris comes out with a short tunnel, I don't know what their plans are with that, but it's obviously the industry standard right now. They're holding off on it. Taiga and Skidoo are going to have it, but it's fun, man. I got to say, we're rounding the hour. We're well past the hour mark. I want to give everyone a chance to get to know a little bit more about what Jon Miller's working on this year and what he launched. So one quick question I want to ask you, Jon, is how do people find Backcountry United Foundation? How do they, find out more about your mission, and how do they support you, brother?
Yeah. So you can right now, backcountryunited.com is pointing to our new address, but you can also go to bcufoundation.org. Either way, it'll take you there. Our channels are still the same. I'm going to keep Backcountry United as a for-profit company that still makes snowboard racks, and when I'm teaching ARI classes and making a living with some of these things, that'll still be a for-profit company that a portion of our profits go to our foundation. And then the foundation will operate as a foundation does. But right now we're kind of in transition, and I'm trying to point some of the energy and following that we've built with Backcountry United towards the foundation. So check us out on Instagram. We've got @bcu.foundation. And so you're gonna see us start to try to push some of our following into the foundation's channels as well. So again, that's backcountryunited.com. That'll kind of take you anywhere you want to go with that.
I feel like I know the listeners of this show well enough. They're going to fly over there in droves, like those pages for sure. Check out the website and get behind you, because you are one of the front facing people that are having the conversations that need to be had with people in our industry, with people outside of our industry, and kind of that two-way road. So greatly appreciated, man. And I want to do everything I can to support your cause, because I believe in it. I support you. And I definitely want to say thank you for what you've done in the shadows, basically over the last 10 years, and put you out in front. So
yeah, I appreciate that very much. And, a lot of people have kind of seen me doing this over the last decade, and, coming out of my career within the corporate side of the industry. And, check out our website, give us some feedback, we're rapidly iterating as well. But, one thing I hope when people check it out, you'll see how much progress we've made, and how we've really started to hone in on our language, and how our thought leadership can come into play in a lot of different places. So I'm really proud of the team that's come together. Love to give those guys a shout out. Wyatt Caldwell in Sun Valley, Idaho, Mason Davey, Brittany Walker here in Colorado, Tana Hoffman up in Jackson, Jancy Quinn out in Truckee, and Tori Billings in Steamboat. We've got an all-star team. Everybody rips. We're all Avalanche certified. We've got some really strong, powerful women, kind of keeping us in line. And, it's a really cool thing to see such a diverse and really high performance group of people grab onto this mission that I've set forth over the years. And, I think we're really making progress. And, I hope people can be proud and be a part of it as well. I think this is the beginning of a new era, and we're well positioned to make a good impact for our industry, for our community. And hopefully we see more avalanche education happening out there, and more coexistence in our public lands, and maybe we'll see Yellowstone opening up in coming years too. So excited.
It'd be so cool.
Be in the middle of all those conversations, and hopefully make a positive difference for our industry.
Because that's all it's going to take, is just a little bit of mindset change in the industry. Not so much in the tight industry, but the newcomers coming into the industry. Just a little bit of mindset change. Be humble, be kind, be respectful to skiers and snowboarders and everything like that. And let's just not have this throwing ski poles at riders when they ride by you. I mean, I've seen that before. Sorry, I didn't really want to go there, but I did.
That happened to me too.
Yeah,
I think a lot of us have stories like that.
Yeah, it happened to me up Cache Creek in Jackson one day, going up to our secret hide-a-hold back there. But yeah, it's weird, man. And just a little bit of mindset changes everything. And we could literally be right there back in Yellowstone having an awesome time again, or all, some other closed areas that we have that we would love to see come back open. So
that's the goal, man, is A, protect what we have, and B, be shepherds to opening new doors, basically. And so, Cody, I want to take a second and give you a big shout out. The way you kind of carried yourself on the post that really sparked this whole conversation we're having here tonight is I see you being, a steward and carrying yourself that way. I immediately went to, well, my defenses went up when people started doing it. I'm like, guys, you got to be open to it. So rad job, rad shout out on that. Everybody that listens to this for the next forever, because it lives on internet land, swing by Cody Hunt's page and open your eyes to the electric snowmobile and what it can provide.
The future.
Yeah, future, man. This is about the future, bros. Come on.
I mean, the industry is going to end up here sooner or later, and this is the beginning. And it's awesome to, look back, to the late '90s when people were building mod sleds on old, indie trail sleds, and like that created a movement, just like the turbo era created a movement. Just like, this is a natural progression of technique, the man and the machine, and it just keeps getting more and more capable and efficient, and it's just rad to be in this space. Like, the future is wide open.
Totally.
Jeremiah asks, what's Cody's page? Where do they find you at, brother? And how do they follow this electric journey?
So it's Cody Hunt on Facebook. I have two pages, my personal and then my athlete page. And then on Instagram, it's Cody Hunt 155. Pretty much 10 years of documented riding is right there on my Instagram.
Right on, brother. And Jeremiah, also follow the Driven Mindset podcast page. We're coming to you weekly with these podcasts around a different array of topics, all centered around mindset and moving ourselves as individuals forward, as well as the industry, and try to create a wake out there of positivity and growth. And we're all hardcore shredders, man. And it's not always about snowmobiling on this conversations. Sometimes it's about life. Sometimes it's about progression. But in my belief is it all kind of lives in one synergy, much like Jon's 4 pillars that he built his Backcountry United and the foundation off of is the positivity and the mindset really generate our energy. So follow the page, follow us on, I met you at Sled Fest, and man, it's hard to see in a little circle that big, but appreciate that. Follow us on the podcast station. I'm sure we're going to be having plenty of updates about the electric sled journey this season and going forward. So I look forward to those conversations. And with that, guys, you want to say goodbye, or are we going to do the everlasting goodbye where we talk for another half hour?
We can talk for another half hour. That's fine. It's always better after the show because everything gets more relaxed and people are normal. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not going to take any more of Miller's time. I already stole a couple hours this evening and a little bit too much last night. He's got probably 12 pages to edit and a 900-page document to write to change the industry. So, brother, I appreciate your time greatly, and keep up the good fight, brother.
Yeah, back at you guys. It's a pleasure to be here, and awesome to see the growth and onward and upward.
Jon, I just, I didn't really get to say this to you, but man, I've been watching you for the last 10 years and watching your company grow and everything that you stand for, man. And it's so rad to see how far you've come and what you've done for our industry, because I believe without you, man, it would be a hell of a lot different. You've touched a lot of people, and I have mad respect for you, dude.
Thanks so much, guys. It means a lot. Appreciate it.
All right. Stay connected, brother. Cody, this is, I feel like, what this show was founded on and why we did it is conversations like tonight. So,
yeah,
love it, man.
Yeah, I'm really pumped that we got Jon on here for the exact conversation that needed to happen. Like that just lined up to be so perfect, man. Like someone that's been pushing the snowmobile backcountry community for so long, finding different ways to keep lands open and keep people together and the fire and the stoke high. Jon was perfect for tonight's episode, man. I'm pumped.
Great fit. Big things coming up. Congratulations on the new house there, man. A lot of new doors opening for you because I know you keep that mind open and keep that throttle pinned. So stay well, stay in touch, and we'll talk after the show, which we should also record because I love it. But
yeah, it is
I'm
good.
Gonna kick you out. Everybody, that was episode 8 of the Driven Mindset podcast. We're coming to you weekly. Myself, Scott Spiro. I live out here in Fallon, Nevada, and I do a lot of cool stuff in my life. And this is just one good way I get to give back to everybody. So I want to say thank you. Banner behind me, Fly Racing, is always a big supporter of mine. They don't support this show, but they keep me and my son's passion alive. So I want to give a big shout out to those guys. If you're in the Lake Tahoe area and you want to come ride here, be sure and hit up Lake Tahoe Snowmobilers, myself behind the Instagram page, or you can get us on Facebook, or you can visit our website. We'd love to get you the information you need to come experience the 8th wonder of the world and ride in the right zones with the right gear and the right education. Stay well, stay connected, and stay driven.